If you're meant to be together, figure it out and get married. Get married. Get married, right? This is we practice this like as a life plan. We do this all the time. You don't need, we don't have the money. Get married. Have the ceremony later. If you want the elaborate, you want the chariot and everything, and you don't have the money for it, well, have a small wedding.
That's
and
right.
then plan that out within the first 2 years of your marriage. You need to remove the barriers to this, right? And in marriage is messy. So Sherry, you're going to talk about how messy marriage is. And then, so marriage is messy.
Marriage is messy.
And talk about like how it draws out. It doesn't draw out. It's the best of you, but it's the worst of you. And let me just lead it with this. People come to me a lot, and they'll come to me and look. They'll say, oh, the marriage isn't working. These things aren't working out. We shouldn't be together. And then they tell me the problem. And I say, no, the marriage is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The marriage is designed to expose you. It's not designed to make you happy. It's to make you holy. All of your weakness, all of your insecurity, all of your fear, all of your narcissism, all of your selfishness, all of your greed, all of the dysfunction of you, glorious you, is going to come out in that glorious relationship. And then all of the dysfunction of her, or whatever paradigm you're looking at, both of you, it's going to come out in glorious dysfunction. Jesus isn't worried or concerned about your dysfunction. Let's just say that. Jesus is not freaked out at my dysfunction or the dysfunction of my relationship. His concern is when you will not do anything about it. What makes a marriage last, what makes a relationship last, is when someone will change. I had a couple in here, I just married them, and they asked me he asked me a great question. And when he asked me that question, I thought, wow, we should do a Q&A. We're going to go maybe 5 minutes long. Is that all right with you guys? Yeah, okay, all right. So, but I want to say this, because this is important. And then share it. Oh, you didn't talk about that? So anyway, so the point being is that when a person,
now the questions get
say
good.
It with me, the marriage will fail when one or both parties refuse to change. That's when the marriage fails. When one or both parties will not change. If you think you're going to get married and you get to stay the same, you're crazy. And I'm not just talking about economically. I'm talking about emotionally. I'm talking about, all of the levels of the way that you think and believe. The marriage forces change. The marriage, all of the seasons of life are experienced through marriage. We're in a different season. You have to understand the season of life you're in. I have to change for her. I have to listen to her, and I have to change for her. Oh, I'm not changing for that woman. Start the clock. That your marriage is doomed. I say this to people all the time. And men and women, I was like, if they're willing to change, your marriage will succeed. But if either one of you shuts this down and will not change, it's inevitable. This is inevitable. And that's what happens. You have 5-year challenges, you have 3 to 5 year, you have 7 to 10 year, you have 10 to 15 year. Every season you have these epic challenges to your relationship. And if you will not change, your marriage will not endure. And you can write that down. That's an absolute guarantee. I'm constantly changing. Both of our kids are out of the house. So what does that mean? There's a transformation in our marriage and our relationship. And if you don't invest in your marriage while you're raising your children will leave your house, married couple, and all that's going to be left is you and him. And if you have not built anything between the two of you, it will be exposed in that time. So your kids for us were always on the outside. Mom and dad came first. Kids came second. And this is the idolatry of our culture. We idolize our children. God's not told me to idolize my children. He's told me to raise them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. He's called me to steward them unto himself. That's what he's called me to do. I'm not to worship my children. And you're like, oh my gosh, were you bad parents? No, not at all. But the thing is that we built a lot of...
Pretty good.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So
those seeds are still in the ground.
But we built a lot between us. And our children are gone, and we're shifting seasons. And we're probably in the greatest season of our life right now. I haven't had this season. You wonder where 32 years ago. Well, I raised kids for 25. So that was pretty intense, raising children. And so now we're out of that season.
Barely made it.
Our kids are off on doing their own thing, which is fantastic. They know the Lord. Their choices
Thank you,
are theirs.
Jesus, for bringing me through.
But we're in a different season. So we have to change. We have to change. So you have to change through marriage. So if your relationship, any marriage can succeed if one or both parties will change, if both parties are willing to change. And you're going to have to change. And if you don't, then that's where the relationship will fail. And that's where it won't change.